This surfer that I really like, he turns his sauna up to 200 F. What is that?
Is it toasted?
Is that 60?
Yeah, it's like 60, right? Yeah.
He's toasted.
And he gets a bike. Okay,
Oh
so
my-
he has an exercise bike in a sauna at 60.
That's
C,
not healthy.
and going as fast as he can for 20 minutes.
That's not healthy. That's
is
extreme.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really extreme.
Okay.
Absolutely extreme.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before, after the rain, you can do that in your balcony, and that works the same.
Yeah, no thanks. But I do like the hot to the cold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so like when we were in Niseko for the snow, like after snowboarding all day, like my favorite thing is
yeah.
you go from the freezing cold
you know
to
what?
the hot.
I actually enjoy skiing.
Oh,
Yeah, but not because of the workout. I enjoy speed. Yeah, I like everything fast. You're gonna ask me why I like simultaneous interpretation, right?
sure.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. I
'Cause of
like
speed.
Yes. I like to getting to know other people like really fast and then
Yeah.
understanding their mindset or how they make decisions or how they strategize. So I enjoy interpreting for decision makers.
What do you think of like that Neuralink that Elon Musk is making, where they connect this kind of chip to your brain? It'll put you out of business. Or maybe it'll make you even better.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about that? Scary? Fun?
No. Now that you talk about it, I think so. Before iPhones, no one knows about apps or app stores, right?
Okay.
So now that you're talking about it, I think I should probably think about a new app for that device before everyone does.
Yeah. I think they've got at least a few years.
Yeah, the other day when I was reading about it, I thought that, okay, so there's going to be a new music store soon.
What do you mean?
Like, you have iPhone and
Yeah.
then you create iTunes. No. There was iTunes before iPhone, but somehow iPhone revolutionized iTunes.
Sure.
Yeah. And then there was a new, different way of listening to music or selecting music or arranging music or making your playlist. So I'm thinking that with his new Neuralink,
Yeah.
there's going to be a new way of making and listening to music. And then maybe there's a new way of listening to audiobooks or listening to speeches or presentations or pitches or discussions.
Yeah. Like, for me, what I'm most excited about is like when you talk to somebody new that you haven't really talked to. Like, I have a few friends that I've known for like 20 years, and so you can almost like think each other's sentences, and the way you talk is
I can
different.
do that.
You can do that, right?
I can do that even if it's a speaker that I've never met before.
Okay. So I'm terrible at that. Like, I have to know somebody for a long time before I feel like we're on the same wavelength. So what I would be looking forward to is like to be able to just like let you into the wavelength of my Neuralink, so we don't have to talk. Like, it's like I'm thinking about something, I'm trying to describe something, my words suck, it's not precise enough, it's not sharp enough. I'd just be like, here, Renee, just look at this. Right? And then it's like, bam, and then like we're connected and you know what's going on.
And then you'll have a very structured script.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, because, I mean, I have images in my head. I have visions that I want to see, and it's like...
That's something else. Some people rely on visualization
I'm
very,
purely
very
visual.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's something that can turn your audio signals into visual aids,
Yeah.
like you're listening to a story about a forest, animals, birds chirping, and then right now you see the images of a forest, trees, and then animals and birds singing in the air. And that's going to be very helpful.
My biggest problem is going the other way. It's like I have something that I see, but
you have to verbalize
challenge.
it.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like, damn it, this language thing. It's like, and then I got to do it in Chinese sometimes, and then it's like, I mean, it's hard enough for me in English, let alone Chinese.
Oh, hire me.
Yeah. No, I think that's the single, like, yeah, I realized like a couple of months ago that I actually really suck at marketing, that I got to get much better. that that I think about stuff from a perspective that people don't easily connect into. It's just a different perspective, and so like I have to fix that. That's not a good thing.
Okay.
Sorry, my
That's
timer.
fine. Oh, okay.
And so that's what I was like. Oh, I need a Neuralink, so then I can just be like, here, just check this out, and then
We can tag Elon Musk.
yeah,
And then tell him, hey, this is what we think. And then,
we don't need to speak anymore.
yeah.
I mean, speaking is good for sure, but like it's so inefficient.
I'm not sure if speaking is good because humans are the only animals that have languages. Not only languages, the entire writing system.
Like multiple languages, I guess.
Yeah.
Like dolphins, they sort of make noises. They can communicate, but it's all the same language.
Right.
Yeah.
Animals communicate with frequencies. They read each other's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then somehow for human, we have to take a very indirect approach.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit disappointed when my son started to speak. I was like, oh, okay, but so you were a little angel now, and then I've really turned you into a human being, and yeah, I felt a little bit regretful that he had to stop communicating with his mind and learning how to communicate with words.
How old is he now?
2.5.
Is he getting like frustrated because he can't say the words he wants to say? Or no?
No, he's very communicative and very expressive now.
That's probably because he's your son. So my son would get so upset because he doesn't know how to explain how he feels to me, or he doesn't know how to explain what he wants to me because he doesn't have the words for it.
Oh.
And he thinks I'm not paying attention to him. I'm like, I am paying attention to you. I don't understand what you're saying. And he's like, he gets so upset.
Oh, yeah, it's really difficult for people to verbalize their emotions or their feelings.
Yeah.
So it's not because he's young, but it's generally difficult for everyone. But, this year, because of COVID-19, I lost most of my incomes and jobs because no one is coming to Taiwan, and then no one needs interpreters. So I decided to invest my time in something.
Well, has anybody done like Zoom calls, interpretations, or it doesn't work?
Oh, okay. It was my bad. So I only served top tier decision makers like CEOs in the past. So I didn't participate in work level meetings. So I kind of only interpreted at closed door meetings between CEOs and CEOs or yeah. So when COVID happened and then everyone was turning online, I just lost most of my assignments.
Yeah.
Right. But then I decided to invest my time in something that's useful. So I took positive discipline courses.
What's that?
Okay. Basically, it's positive communication.
Okay.
So I was trained.
I should probably learn that. Most of my communication is pretty negative.
That's why I took it. I was so sarcastic.
No, I'm just critical. Like I see something.
That's a different way of saying that you're sarcastic. Or
I don't know if it's sarcastic. It's like I feel like I see what's wrong in things.
Okay. I was very straightforward and very blunt when I talk to myself or other people.
But if you see something positive and exciting, do you say, hey, that's great, that's amazing? Or do you just like focus on the negatives?
I would say, oh, this is great, but what if it can be better?
All right. So what did they teach you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I took the course mostly because I want to communicate with my son in a more positive way. I want to encourage him to make mistakes.
Okay.
And then I want him to know that failing is okay. It took me a very long time to finally know or to appreciate the benefits of failure. So I know that I can be too discouraging sometimes when I was leading my teams or when I was at Girls in Tech Taiwan. So I want to make sure that I don't discourage him. I actually want to encourage him to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know if there's a better way for us to talk about mistakes or failure. But the point is, one thing I did about emotions and feelings is that I have different picture cards, flashcards
Okay.
on the wall. And then there are scenarios describing a specific feeling or emotion. For example, disappointed, angry, mad, overjoyed, delightful. Sometimes they're very similar, and or comfortable, calm, nervous, brave, busy, bored, something like that. So it's called a calming corner. You don't go to the corner when kids have a tantrum. You go there frequently. And then after a tantrum, you go there together. And then I ask him, can you point to the cards and then tell me what happened?
That's interesting.
It is. Because a few months ago, he really didn't like bath time. Like every night I had to drag him into the bathroom. And then I stripped him. I feel like I was a criminal.
It's like wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he would cry, and then he would whine. And I really didn't know what's wrong, because when he was younger, he enjoyed it. And then somehow at that stage, he just didn't like it at all. He didn't enjoy any minute. And then after one bath, I pointed at the sad photo. And then I said, what made you so sad? And then he pointed at the angry photo. And then he said, I wasn't sad. I was angry. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, my God, this is working. And so it's really clarifying. I misunderstood him. And then the system is telling me how to identify. The system is telling him how to identify his feelings and then give him a way for me to understand him better.
That is so cool.
It is.
What's it called again?
Positive discipline.
Positive discipline.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm going to be a certified facilitator or a certified trainer soon.
Wow.
I turned out my assignment. I just don't know how long it takes.
Is it just for kids or is it for everyone?
There are different courses. This one I took is for kids, but communication styles are basically the same. So, yeah, once you know the philosophy, you can apply the techniques to every kind of communication or negotiation.
I was in a call with, I think it was like 20 or 30 different tech CEOs. It was like it was this call from one of our investors. They were arranging it, and it was about sort of how you facilitate better discussions and get more from your team and things of that nature. And he started off by saying, like, red, yellow, green. Like, what color are you right now? And he says, okay, you can say I'm sort of yellow moving to red, or I'm red moving to yellow, or just green. But you can kind of pick these colors. And before you start to talk with somebody on your team, just pause for a moment, ask them what color. And so I did this. I tried this a bit. I asked a few people, like, who report to me, hey, how are you doing? Like, what color are you right now? And
are they comfortable answering that question?
Well, at first they just sort of laughed, right? But then when they actually answer the question, like, many times I was surprised. I was like, really? Like, this person's having a hard time? Like, I thought they were fine. I thought it was just great. Or this person's really happy. Like, what are you happy about? Like, I think everything's going wrong. So, like, tell me what are you excited about? And so it's like, I think that if you use these mechanisms that are not words, like you point at something or you have a color, you kind of force the mind into a different track, if you will. Right?
So that's helpful.
I think it's really helpful.
Okay.
I was so taken aback by it. I was like, how can this little simple thing be that useful?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a hack, I guess, in the sense that it allows you to shortcut a lot of, like, sometimes it's very hard to just, like, take a pulse and how is somebody feeling? Like, are they anxious? Are they happy? Are they nervous? Excited? Like, these are all so similar, but yet, like, if you force me to think about, okay, you're yellow right now, or you're red right now, like, okay, something like let me try to understand what's going on. Is it your personal life? Is it your something about your project? Like
Okay.
what is it?
But you have to define what yellow means, or
I don't. Just ask them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everybody knows kind of red. Like if a red light's flashing, something's not so good. You know,
Okay.
green.
It's a warning.
Green means go.
Okay.
Yeah. Yellow is like, well, to my dad, like when you have red, yellow, green lights, yellow means stop, like slow down and stop. He's a lawyer. For me, it means just
Rush.
gas it. Yeah, just whoa.
Pump it.
It means you still have a chance to make it. Go for it. Right? So, of course, that also is like really interesting when you talk with people because you realize that people also think that way about certain things. Yeah, people can be conservative. People can be very
Risk aversion or
yeah. Which goes back to like you're thinking about failure and about
Right.
kind of trial and error
So,
of these things.
I like to ask myself why. Like, why did this happen? Or why this went wrong? And then I ask people why a lot. And I find out from translation that why can make people defensive in whatever language. Like, if you ask people in Chinese or in English, their first response is to become defensive. And
So what did you change to?
I asked them different questions.
You can ask how come. It's almost the same as why, but it doesn't have that initial.
Are you sure?
Yeah, try it. Try
Okay.
it. That's all you got to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like if somebody shows you something, you're like, why'd you think of that? Right? It's like, it feels like an attack.
Right.
But if you said, how come you were thinking that way? Like, it's sort of like, hey, explain to me what you're thinking.
Right.
In English, this works. I don't know if it's different enough in Chinese, but just to
I have to
swap
think
out
about it.
how with why. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm working on a book. It's
Okay.
called Ask for More.
Okay.
It's written by Alexandra Carter. She is a Columbia Law School professor and a trained mediator. Right. And then the Chinese version is coming out soon, in maybe 2 months. And she turned why into 20 different questions. All of them started with what.
What, huh?
Like, what do you need? Or what are your feelings? Not how do you feel, but what are your feelings?
She's a lawyer and a negotiator. Or
Yes. And she trains negotiators. So it's very rewarding to translate her book. And I think it's
do you get to talk with her
no,
before you translate? Or
No. I
have
said,
you ever talked with somebody before you translated their book? Or
when
after, I guess?
when I interpret, I always ask for a pre-meeting briefing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can talk to the speaker. But for translation, the authors are either dead or they're just too popular because they're bestseller authors. So they never respond to my emails.
Yeah, it's like by the time somebody wants their book translated, they're already like blowing up, right?
Right.
The lead hostage negotiator for the FBI.
I might have taken his master class.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably like the most famous. Like there was a book in I guess whatever the 80s or the 90s called Getting to Yes, I think.
I've read that a long time ago.
Okay. So this guy, like he's basically like all that stuff, like that's just academic bullshit. Like it doesn't work.
Okay.
That's not the way you negotiate.
Okay.
Right? And so he wrote this whole book about like how the FBI negotiates under situations where negotiations like actually matter, right? So, and he says it's really important for business because if you have like a business deal, either you get it or you don't. The business might live or die based on that one contract, and the kind of there's this approach like we don't negotiate with terrorists, like that's kind of the bad boy approach. But then he's like, no, you absolutely do negotiate with terrorists. You can completely out-negotiate them because usually they're terrible at negotiating. And so he puts together this whole sort of
new concept.
Yeah, this whole new concept. It was interesting.
Oh.
But the problem I have with these books is they genuinely exist in a situation where like I'm trying to get something from you, and I don't care about your future. So it's not like I'm trying to get
negotiation like 20 years ago. Trade-offs.
Trade-offs, but like it's not that I'm trying to negotiate. Okay, so I would say it this way. So like both Getting to Yes and this book, like Never Split the Difference, they sort of aim for winning, whereas like what I find interesting about business is that you can actually have, and it sounds cliche, right? But you can actually have the win-win. Like you can actually have both people better off.
Right.
Right? And I think neither of these books, especially this Never Split the Difference, like they do not teach you from that perspective. Because like, okay, so an FBI person trying to negotiate a hostage situation, like for sure that FBI agent is not going to want to go have a beer with the hostage or the
taker.
Yes, like 3 years from now. Right? But in business and in life, I think like you don't want to negotiate where you win and they lose, because in the end, that'll get you.
Right. In Ask for More.
Hopefully. Okay. Go. Yeah.
Okay. In Ask for More, the book written by Alexandra Carter, Professor Carter, she said that right now this person may be at the other side of the table, but right after the negotiation ends, this person becomes your partner. Like when you are in a job interview and then you are negotiating about your salary, right after you have a deal, you become colleagues.
Yeah, that's why this Never Split the Difference kind of felt wrong to me, is because like you actually do have to go on and work with this person. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes negotiation is the first thing you do before you start any cooperation. So there is no need.
So which of these whys was like your favorite? Like was there one that you were the most surprised by?
What are your feelings?
Yeah.
So there are 10 questions in the book, 5 for yourself.
Oh.
And then 5 for your negotiating partner. So you have to ask yourself 5 questions first before going to a negotiation. And then in the discussion, you ask the other 5 questions to find out more about your partner.
Do you remember some of the questions you ask yourself?
I turned it in last month, so let me think. What do you need?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a goal-setting question. What do you need from this negotiation or from this deal or from this discussion? And then what are your feelings? What have you done right or successfully in the past?
In terms of negotiating or
whatever that can whatever that can help you find right tactics or right strategies that
kind of give you confidence.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then
give me some examples of the questions you would ask them. The other side. So like when you go in and you ask these 5.
What are
same questions?
Almost the same. Yeah. The last of the 5 is what's next.
What's next?
Yeah. What is the first step you want to take? So I kind of forget the 4th question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And she was a lawyer.
She is.
She still is.
Yeah.
Like,
and a law professor.
She does mediation.
Yes.
There are certain industries that I feel are like very zero-sum. Like the financial sector, like almost everything is like there's a winner, there's a loser.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I trade some stock, somebody on the other side loses money if I make money.
Yeah.
Right? Like it has to be that way. There's very, very few situations where it's like both sides win. The legal profession was, I think, because like lawyers are really interested in like what are the means of control? Like how do you control something? Right? So perhaps that's one of the reasons why they think kind of from both of those perspectives. Like my dad, he was a lawyer. He went to law school, and he said that like one of the most useful things he learned is that the moment you have a perspective that you think is true, flip it around and then argue against yourself from the other perspective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because you can't really understand, like, you have to be able to argue against you better than you can argue for you.
Right.
It's
right.
like this kind of...
That's the best preparation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I always found that interesting. Like, it was always hard for me to flip my perspective. Okay, what is the other person thinking? Okay, can I argue their perspective? And what's the weakness in my perspective?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when startups pitch, they will usually think about the questions that they may receive at the end of their presentation. So I think that's one way to prepare yourself for getting other people to agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, these questions are, like, in many ways, the questions are the most interesting part. Like, your answer, I don't really care much about answers. It's, okay, what question got you to that answer? Those are fascinating. Like, in the past, I feel that I didn't actually value questions as much as I should. Like, I would sort of say, okay, answers are important. We can discount questions a bit. So, why did you get that answer? Is not as good as, like, how did you think about, X or Y, or like that question. It's like kind of that path in that I think is so interesting.
Oh, okay. For me,
Yeah.
I'm really good at execution, but I'm terrible at leading people.
How come?
I don't know.
Like, are you terrible at managing or leading, or both?
Probably both. And then I used to tell my co-founders, I don't work with stupid people.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't tolerate stupid people, so just don't give me stupid people. But then I understand it's my problem because I was terrible at talking to them and then helping them understand my goal and my vision. So I found that I found out that when I was leading other people, I just gave them a mission without telling them specific instructions or steps. And then when they screwed up, I asked them why. I mean, how is it possible that you can screw this up? And then they got really, really defensive, and I was getting nothing out of the discussion, only frustration for me and for them. So I learned from translating all of the books and from interpreting for decision makers and negotiators that even if you're right, you have to listen to their defense or their clarification or their reasons or their excuses. When I didn't listen to people, I thought, well, this is just excuses, a lot of bullshit, a lot of excuses. But then it turned out that if I never listened to them, I would never understand why they screw up things. And then there's no way I could provide any support. The only thing I could do was just to fire them. And then I didn't train people. I was expecting someone to become useful when they're on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the
Become
end,
useful on their own, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. But so I learned that, so it was my bad. And then it was me who needs to improve my communication skill, which is a terrible awakening because I thought I was good at communicating. And then
It's very ironic, right? Like
Yeah.
the interpreter doesn't know how to interpret people, right?
Right, right. So first, I need to give them time to explain themselves. And then it's so important when you're working with kids because parents are like 100% authoritative when you're communicating with your kids. So I don't want my kid to be afraid of telling me what's going on in his mind. I want to be able to show him that I can trust him and he can trust me. And then he can tell me what he wanted to do and why he couldn't accomplish what he wanted to do. So
you do you think you learned how to listen to somebody because you had to listen to your kid? Like, is that really the main thing? Like more so than like the interpretations, right?
yes.
Because you wanted your kid to be able to to be okay with failing, or
Yes, of course. And when I was a kid, or whenever.
what were your parents like when you were a kid? Let me ask you that first. Like, were your parents like? Did they listen well? Did they like force you to do something?
They were too busy to listen to.
What did they do?
They're entrepreneurs. They have a printing factory.
Printing
Stickers and labels.
So the work was their main thing, and then you were just kind of.
That's not fair.
Okay.
But yeah.
It felt that way, at least.
Yes. The most important thing is growing up, when I made mistakes, I would never tell anyone. I would try to fix it before anyone finds out.
If they did find out, like, what would they say? Like, Renee, you idiot. Why'd you do that?
Let me think. When they found out, it's usually big shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually too late. So they would ask me why you didn't tell me earlier, or why you didn't tell me when this happened, and then why did you spend so much time and energy trying to fix it when you couldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked myself that all the time. I just didn't have the courage and confidence to tell my mom or my teachers or my supervisors that, oh, I made a mistake.
Because you were afraid of their reaction, or how come you didn't want to explain this?
I was worried that I may be fired or expelled, or I was worried that they may discount my credibility in the future.
Interesting.
Right. So I want to make sure that my son would tell me when he's in trouble.
Or like, okay. So like if your kid gets in trouble, then you want to make sure that
he feels
comfortable
okay. To tell me.
Say, hey, I messed up here.
Yeah.
I blew this.
Because I know no one around me has the confidence to tell me they're in trouble.
Yeah. You know, like, I've been thinking a lot about like kids and the risks that they need to take, because like when you get older, you have to take risks. It's just the world is very, like if you don't take any risks, the reward you get is very, very, very small. Not talking about financial, just
I
the
agree.
emotional reward you get from taking on risk
Right.
and more responsibility is huge. It completely changes your life. And so like there are some things that like I see my son do that I think are just like unnecessarily risky. Right?
Like what?
Oh, he's jumping off some like table onto his knees on the ground and trying to catch a ball out of the air. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's a big risk. Or skateboarding, something like that, right? Like there's these, there's boys. They do things that are, I shouldn't even say boys anymore. So my brother's daughter is like, she's far more like taking huge risks compared to my son. But when someone is taking a risk and you don't think it's going to kill him, it's not going to kill you, I've sort of come to the conclusion that you just got to let him do it. You can't stop it. That it's like the worst thing you can do as a parent or the worst thing you can do as a manager
is to talk them out of it.
Is to stop somebody that's voluntarily taking a risk. Of course, if you think it's going to kill them or if they're not going to be able to recover, then you have to stop, right? That's you can see those pictures of like there's this YouTube like I think it's like Best Dads or something where like these kids are like doing something and the dad like grabs them and pulls them back just before they're going to die, right?
Right.
So I think manager, parent, you have to stop if you think the outcome is going to be really bad, like horrible bad. They can't recover bad. But if it's not that, cannot stop it because like learning how to take a risk is like the hardest thing to do in life, right?
And sometimes if you want to stop them, it's useless. They're going to do it anyway. They just do it without telling you.
Yeah, and then they'll resent you because then they'll think like, hey, if I tell my mom or my dad, she's going to say, don't do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like, I really think those are connected. Like kids being okay to take a risk. Because I think like if you watch a kid, their first move is always to take the risk. It's the parents that come in and say, no, don't do that. You know, 要小心, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it's that comment that is preventing the kid from taking the risk that they think is necessary.
Oh.
That then sort of manifests itself everywhere, all through culture, all the way up to when you're an adult and you have to take risks. But now you can't because you're always used to somebody saying, hey, 小心, 小心.
Yeah.
Like these kind of...
Do you know growth mindset?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a bestseller book too. It's talking about how you can help your kids or your students, if you're a teacher, to have this growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So kids or students with a fixed mindset would believe that, oh, I'm good at math and I'm terrible at history or something like that. But if they have a growth mindset, they will believe that I can learn and then I will become good at this or that. And it's a very good book, but it can be very confusing too. Because the author says that teachers and parents should avoid saying no or don't. And of course, it's truth. But the more you think about it, the more likely that you're going to say no or don't.
Yeah.
That's how our brain is wired. And so when my son started doing something dangerous, like jumping on the stairs or jumping on the bed, at first I would say, don't do that, or no jumping. And then I would realize, oh, okay, I'm killing his growth mindset.
Yes.
And then I started asking him, do you know how to protect yourself? And then he would say, yes. And I said, okay, then you can do this.
Yeah, and he'll probably get hurt, and then he'll learn how to,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
I think that, like, this notion of not having a growth mindset, it's completely, like, self-imposed. Like, I think it's parents, it's teachers, it's, I should say, that and bad managers that put this. Because I think people, like I used to love to draw when I was a kid. At some point, I was told I'm not a good drawer.
Okay.
And so
And just stop?
basically stopped. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think that, like, the growth mindset is what every kid has. Like, it's innate. It's part of us.
Right.
But it gets beaten out of us because
Yeah.
of school. And it gets beaten out of us by some parents.
We're going to talk about school in the coming episodes, right? In one of the coming episodes.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. We can talk about how school kills creativity.
Yeah.
Or innovation. Or
But it comes down to this, like, this natural tendency to want to grow. This natural tendency to try, which ends in failure. And so if you punish that, or if the reaction is, why'd you do that, right? Instead of, like, hey, tell me a bit more about, like, how you were thinking, you know, like, you hit your head against the ground. Like, how are you thinking about, you know, falling next time? Maybe you could try to roll or something, right? So I think it goes all the way up to, like,
to management.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.